Hi, I'm Terry White, and welcome back to Designing Your Life. We have another episode today, and I'm calling it Works in Progress, because many people think that everything is perfect like we show you all the time, and it is not. There's always something that's going on. Sunday, I was trying to complete a project, so I made a stepping stone. So I'm going to give you a very brief tutorial on creating your own stepping stone. I have a metal band from a rotted Jack Daniels barrel that I felt like would be of use at some point in time, and I'm going to use that as the rim to it. I have this wonderful gingko leaf that I want to be the center of the stepping stone, and I am making this upside down. So I put the side that I want to show down first. I'm using a plastic trash bag to cover and protect the table, but I'm also using this particular one because it has little dimples in it, and I think that will make the surface of the top of the stepping stone more interesting. So that's really the setup for it, because I'm doing a very simple stone. Now, if you wanted to remove the rim after the concrete has set, you just coat the inside of it with some kind of oil. I've heard people use olive oil. But over here, I've got in a concrete mixing tray, I've got the proportions, and I'm going to be using, or I did use rather, 1 part Portland cement to 3 parts sand. I did not strain the sand, and I used Pavers sand because it's a little rougher and has some interesting little pebbles and things in it. But I think I used 4 of the Portlands and 12 of the sand to make enough concrete to do the paver. Mix the dry materials with your hands. You can wear gloves, and a lot of people recommend gloves, but mix it thoroughly, very thoroughly, before you add water to it. And like mixing any concrete, make sure you don't add too much water. Do it a little at a time. I've got my little water pitcher here so that it's easy to do. And then put the concrete in. It's always according to how many air bubbles you want. I like air bubbles on the surface, but you can pat the concrete as you put it in. Pat it especially if you're using any kind of form to make sure that the concrete gets all the way around the form. These two things are only here to hold down the Jack Daniels strap so that it does not move. And make sure also that you put it dead center if that's where you want it, dead center, because once the concrete hardens, it's there for good. You then, the next day, flip it over, and these are the tools that I use to finish it off. You'll have flanges of concrete here and there, and you might even have the seams of the trash bag show up. Frankly, I don't mind it if they're in a good position, in a good place. I call it artistic. But I've got steel brush, I've got a soft brush, I have sandpaper, and these are my mixing tools. I don't really use those. Sometimes, if your concrete hardens a little faster and you go back to clean it the next day and you can't quite get the surface, you can use a little apple cider vinegar on top of the concrete. It's a reaction, a chemical reaction, and it will eat away very little, but a little bit of the concrete. And of course, I have my Crabtree and Evelyn Gardener's Hand Repair. I always use it after I've had my hands in concrete. Okay, let's go look at the finished product. I always am so excited the next morning after I've made something like this to uncover it and see if it actually ended up being what I envisioned. But the paver installation around the stepping stone we did on Thursday. My friend Michael Flick helped me. He works for me on Thursdays, and we did all of the exterior paver work and dug up the stones. But this is the finished product. I really do love the way the patina held on the ginkgo leaf. That used to be green. This is something I just got off of Amazon. I Googled stepping stone ginkgo, and these metal ones came up. It was a funny shade of green. I just threw it in the fire pit for 3 or 4 hours, and it burned off all of the paint and all of the preservative. The rope thing that you see here, that is just for me to be able to get it out without hurting anything. I need some more paver sand to level it and install it permanently. But you'll see this will make more sense to you about sort of customizing this walkway and not having just a sea of flagstone, which I do love. But let's walk this way. You'll also see this wonderful bird bath that was made by my dear friend who is a concrete artist, Vicki Vance, but I have made a turtle watering station out of it. I have lots of box turtles, and they make me happy, and they love watermelon, so that's where I put all of my watermelon rinds. You'll also notice that the hydrangeas have plumped out, really rounded up since we were here just a couple of weeks ago. And some of them have even started turning the wonderful sage green, which is probably my favorite time for them when they all turn green. But come on down. I'm just trying to work on this last section of Flagstone Path to continue this line all the way down to the end of the property. It just makes it so much easier to walk, and I'm out in the rain and there's no mud, and I love it. But these are some of the stones that we dug up to do that paver installation, and that was part of the process of doing that. Those were all leftover pavers from a smaller paver section of it that I wanted. It was a kit, and I couldn't find enough flagstone, aged flagstone with moss growing on it and all the wonderful stuff to match the flagstone that I already had in this path, that in essence I'm widening it. But you can see I finished the borders, pretty simple, stack them, and the only important thing is making sure that you tamp the ground and that they're level. I like level things, but tamp the ground pretty severely before you place them, but they really are quite easy to work with. Now, you have to be careful, Emily, because I like to live with the stones for a while and tweak and move them before I really set them in there.
So these aren't set right now. Got it.
Yeah, they can be treacherous. But this was the section of the paver kit that I wanted. I wanted something kind of unusual and different down here at this end, coming up the stairway. And it was fairly easy to do. Again, tamping the ground. And this is what I tamp with. This is my trusty friend. It's called an 8x8 tamper. And you can tell by the age of it that two things you can tell. One, I've left it out in the rain a lot, and two, I've used it a lot. But this section here, the only thing that I'm changing about it is the center. These are the stones that came with the kit for the center, and they just bothered me. They have bothered me since day one. I love everything else about it. So I've decided to not use them and use this copper cap, and this you cannot find at a local hardware store. You would have to go to a plumbing supply to get a copper pipe cap this big. But I think it is going to be perfect, and it pretty much is. And then I'll just fill in around it with some paper sand once I get some more paper sand and color it done. But I hope you've enjoyed this works in progress to understand that you sometimes have to sweat a little to get the appreciation and to have something that will last a very long time. I hope you tune in again, and we'll be doing another works in progress episode very, very soon. Thank you for watching.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching Works in Progress Part 1. I hope you'll tune in for Part 2 coming soon. And Terry would love to hear from you, so please send him your comments under the video or subscribe to his channel, Design Your Life with Terry White. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.